Thank you, Shepard parents, for coming to today's presentation of the mandatory athletic parent meeting. We look forward to working with your kids and having a great season, not only this year, but in many years to come. It's the fall season. We enjoy the wonderful weather and great sports teams that we have and the wonderful parents that we have. So looking forward to seeing you out there. This slide here shows you who our various coaches are for the different sports. The first coach listed is always our head varsity coach. The second coach is usually a lower level coach. And for football, I want to indicate that Mike Murphy is our head sophomore coach and Joe Krawitz is the head freshman coach. The first thing that I'd like to talk about is trust. You've obviously entrusted your most valuable things in your lives, your children, to our staff, both as teachers and as coaches. And as someone who has sent his children off to school in the last few years, I know it's a scary prospect, even when they're entering high school. But I'm here to reassure you that our teachers and our coaches are absolutely fantastic. I am impressed on a daily basis with what they do with kids. At the end of the day, I know we're talking about sports here, but there's so much more to it than just winning and losing games. High school athletics is about developing memories. It's about helping children be prepared to enter the adult world. And athletics is a great avenue to help kids learn lessons and help them transition into adulthood. Our programs, our coaches don't just focus on physical development in terms of bettering their athletic skills. They look at the whole child and they want to help them improve socially, emotionally, and academically. Things that sports are absolutely great for are developing leadership positions, learning how to win and lose well, learning how to put others above themselves, because we know that adolescents are typically pretty selfish little monsters, and that's normal and that's okay. Dealing with loss, dealing with lack of playing time, learning how to be an advocate for themselves, dealing with injuries, decision making. There's so many great things that come out of being a high school athlete. Problem solving, learning from mistakes. I mean, the list goes on and on. But at the end of the day, it's kids playing a game who are hopefully developing lasting memories by bonding with their coaches and their teammates. So thank you again for trusting them to us. So again, you've trusted them to us, and the parent-coach relationship is an important one. Neither job is easy, okay? We need to work together, and communication is the key. 98% of the time, I get very few complaints about coaches and situations, but they do happen sporadically, and all I ask is that we communicate about it together and try and work through it. I often find that communication resolves the issue a large majority of the time. Please understand they are kids. They will tell their side of the story. They will omit things. They will slant things. They will tell you what you want to hear, what they want to tell you. And when we talk, we can clarify things. I do take all compliments about staff. And at the end of the season, you'll have an opportunity to do an evaluation of the athletic department and the coaches and the program. So I strongly encourage you to take advantage of that. Typically, we have 400 kids participate each season, and usually only about 50 or 60 parents fill out that evaluation. So the more I hear from people, the more information that I have, and it really helps us improve our programming. We take constructive criticism seriously. We want to improve upon what people perceive to be areas of weakness, and we also like to build upon our strengths. So again, that's an opportunity for you to compliment us and what we're doing well, so we can learn from that and build upon that, but also to criticize where you think we need improvement, so we can also investigate that. So please understand, when you come to Shepard High School, you are a fan and a parent. Even if you are a phenomenal athlete or a phenomenal coach with a great background, at the end of the day, when you come here, you are a parent. And I ask that you allow the coaches to coach. And I do provide a lot of articles and thought-provoking things that I find online on our school website, so you can read them, and much of it will indicate that Kids want their parents to be fans and be more like their grandparents and enjoy watching them play as opposed to coaching them up during a game or after a game. So please take that into consideration. Please be sure to look on our website for the variety of articles that are available there. As I said, being a parent's not an easy job, and so I try and find things that are thought-provoking and hopefully helpful to you as a parent, because we know there's no one book on how to do it best. It's a real hard job. So again, to continue with the parental expectations, the biggest thing I think to emphasize here is to thank a referee, okay? And obviously show them respect, show respect for our coaches, opposing players, opposing coaches, and fans. Again, it's just kids playing a game. Referees are human beings. They do make mistakes. And that's okay. We're going to forgive them for it. Yelling and screaming at them or being profane with them or threatening them is not the way to go. It's not how we represent ourselves at Shepard High School, and that is a huge problem. It's sad that we live in a society that police have to escort referees off of school campuses because they fear for their safety. I don't know what has happened in our society that we do that. Again, the referees that come to our games are paid a very small wage to do something that hopefully they love for a sport maybe they used to play or coach, and they're not there to say, okay, I'm gonna go to Shepard High School and I'm gonna get number 17 in football. I'm gonna throw a lot of flags on him. It's okay. We have to forgive them when they make mistakes, and just thanking them when you have the opportunity, even if we've lost, even if they've blown a call. They have an incredibly hard public job. And I'm sure after talking about all this, you're not surprised to learn that there is a shortage of officials. So before you criticize, make sure you walk a day in their shoes. And again, officials are needed for the IHSA, so go ahead and sign up. The other thing I ask of parents is please don't criticize other people's kids, especially publicly. I've seen this happen on a number of occasions, and it's really ugly and it's really sad. Kids are going to make mistakes too. It's the coach's job to coach them and correct those mistakes and give them opportunities to be successful. So even if a kid is making the same mistake over and over and over again, a coach may keep them in at that position until they can get it right, and that's okay. And my last bit of advice to you is to enjoy the moment. High school will go fast. Your kids are going to grow up too quickly, and just enjoy them playing, enjoy watching them, and have fun, win or lose. Have fun, support our team, whether your kid's playing or not. Because they're probably thrilled to be on that team, and they're developing memories, and they have a role to play on that team, even if it's not a ton of minutes in the game. So you're supporting your kid, but you're also supporting our team. Coaches' decisions, please understand that playing time is a meritocracy. Kids earn it. Yes, coaches do play favorites. Their favorites are typically the most talented, the hardest working, with the best attitudes, who are leaders and who are coachable, okay? So yes, coaches play favorites. Please understand that senior night is a pregame ceremony. It is not a guarantee of starting or playing time or excessive playing time. And please also understand that your kid in time may be a senior that gets cut from a team from varsity after being on the team for 3 years because some incredibly talented freshman has come in and overtaken them in terms of their skill. That does happen, and it's hard and it's frustrating, but it does happen. In terms of playing time, coaches have a difficult decision to make when they have to have kids sit out of games. If a kid misses a game for a very good reason, let's just say a funeral, they miss practice on Monday and the coaches rule they don't play on Tuesday, well, that kid still may not play because that's the rule. Some coaches will have some leniency there and some understanding in those kinds of situations, but kid B, who was at practice on Monday, knows the rule is you sit out a game if you miss a practice, if that's the team's rule, and then when coach lets kid A play, kid B is upset if he doesn't play because kid A missed practice. So coaches are in a pretty difficult situation there. They're going to do the best that they can to make the best decision in that moment. It's not always easy. It's not always clean or simple. So I hope you understand that if your child is kid A and they've missed for a funeral and the coach doesn't play them, that they're sticking to that rule. And if you're the parent of kid B and they make an exception, please understand they're doing that because they believe it's an important exception to make. Coaches make the strategy, they make the team rules, they decide on the play calling. Everybody seems to be an armchair quarterback or coach. It's not an easy job. It's easy to sit in the stands. And as I said, referees make mistakes, and so do coaches. They're going to do the best that they can. They want to win. They're not making bad calls or bad decisions in your opinion so they can lose the game. They're making the decision that they believe is best. Please also leave matters concerning other student athletes. Please only talk about your child with us and our coaching staff. General communication, I always advocate that kids speak for themselves first. They have to learn how to be an advocate for themselves. This is part of that separation process and teaching a kid how to navigate the adult world. It's not always an easy thing for them to do, but I'd always say have the kid try and do it first. If they're unsuccessful and you need to assist them, there's nothing wrong with that. But please understand that we're trying to teach kids how to function here. So again, kid to coach first, parent to coach second, parent to AD third, parent to principal next, and parent to superintendent after that. If you're unhappy with the coach or you're unhappy with me and you want to go to the next supervisor each time, that's fine. That is your prerogative. Well, I ask, please don't just call the superintendent right away, especially if it's an issue about playing time. Allow us the opportunity to help you resolve the situation first. And if you are unhappy with our response or our suggestions, or if we disagree, then obviously you have every right to go to the next supervisor, and that's okay. But we just ask that you provide us that opportunity first, and that's where that communication and that trust comes in first. And I believe that most situations can be resolved with a conversation amongst the involved parties first. Okay? Our coaches will be tough on your kids, and that's okay. They're going to challenge them. They're going to push them to help them reach their potential and get the best out of them. They will be demanding, but they will not be demeaning. Demeaning is unacceptable. If your child is ever mistreated by a coach, you need to let me, the athletic director, know right away. That is unacceptable, but coaches will be tough on them, and we need to understand that. Kids will struggle. They will fail at times, and that is okay. It's teaching them, part of this process is teaching them how to respond when they are not successful, when they have some failures. Rescuing them and saving them is not the way to go. I always use the analogy of, when a butterfly is sitting on a bench and it's struggling to get out of its cocoon, it's not good to just take a knife and open up the cocoon for the butterfly. You think you're helping, but in fact you're hurting, because the butterfly needs that time to develop its muscles and its wings. And just by rescuing it, you've failed that butterfly, because it's going to fall to the ground and die because it didn't develop the strength to survive on its own. And while that's a hokey analogy, I think it's something that is important when it comes to parenting our children as well. Again, there's no perfect way to do it. Parenting is an incredibly hard job. We do the best that we can with the information that we have. And our job is to work with you as a parent, as educators, and not against you. And we want the same from you. We would like you to work with us and not against us. I'm going to talk about these various things here in the next couple of slides. The first one being the Athletic Booster Club. We have a very active booster club. The current executive board and parents have done an amazing job of building it up. This is, you read in this slide here, this is what the purpose of the booster club is. At the bottom there are the different events that we run, with the most intensive ones being our concession stands here at Shepard and the Toyota Park, which I'm going to explain in a minute here. We also have an advertising book, which parents are welcome to take out their own little family ad if they'd like. You can send in a picture, an embarrassing picture of your child with a little message of encouragement if you'd like. It's a very inexpensive purchase for a little, business card sized ad or eighth of a page sized ad. If you have a business that would like to advertise, we will certainly take that as well. The other thing you'll see on there is the awards night dinner. At the end of the year, there's a free dinner for students and a very small fee for parents for a nice chicken and pasta meal with salad and dessert at the end of the year, when we get together and celebrate all athletics. We give out the senior awards there, but it is not just for seniors. We want freshmen, sophomores, and juniors coming to this event. We talk about great stories and successes over the year, things you might not know about. If you're a football parent, you may not know anything about what's going on with our girls cross country team or our bowling team and all the successes that we're having. So we want to get together and celebrate that. We need help. We have approximately 800 athletes every year, so that's anywhere between 800 and 1,600 parents who could help us. We ask that everybody works one event here at Shepard and works one event at Toyota Park. If you do not want to work those events, you are welcome to just do a $50 buyout option. So we ask that you get involved with that, and I'm going to talk about that again a little bit more in a second. These are our current sponsors. Many of them are Shepard families. They have kids who are currently here, who have graduated in the past. They are very generous and good to us. I encourage you to frequent their businesses and thank them for being a Shepard sponsor, because they don't have to be. And the way that they do it is very different than a lot of other businesses. Again, they've been very, very good to us, so please do make sure you utilize them when if you are in need of any of these services. And the next slide is also a handful of other sponsors who, again, are very good to us. So here's the concession stand expectations. You are able to sign up at signupgenius.com. Our booster club will send out emails. I will send out emails and phone calls about, there's 2 different pages, one for Toyota Park and one for our home concession stand. Please understand that if you sign up for one of these, you cannot cancel on us. It's a huge problem, especially Toyota Park. They expect 10 people to come, and if 2 people cancel at the last minute, or if they expect 20 people to come and 5 or 6 people cancel, instead of us having 2 stands, now we only get 1 stand, and that causes problems for Toyota Park because they then didn't hire enough people for that day. So please do understand no-shows are a big problem. Some people would prefer not to work a concession stand, which takes a couple of hours of your time. So that's why we have the $50 buyout option. The reason that we do that is we no longer allow teams to sell fundraising items. Some teams will still do dinner nights at various restaurants and some other creative events where kids are not expected to sell things. But you and I, all the parents listening to this and having seen this presentation, know that you're tired of selling things. Even just coming to Shepard, if you had one student on 3 different sports, let's just say football, wrestling, and track, you're being asked to sell cookie dough all year round, and families were complaining about that to me, and understandably so, which is why we got rid of it. And then you compound that if you have multiple kids here doing multiple sports, you're constantly selling things. So we tried to streamline the process, make it affordable for everybody. That $50 is per family per year. So if you have multiple kids here doing multiple sports, it's still only $50. If you also throw in the fact that, once you get to high school, you've been selling things, candy bars and whatnot for local sports teams, and Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, and you're a church or your elementary school for years and years and years, and your neighbors and your family are tired of it. So we're trying to help that go away and help families not have to be salespeople anymore. But that revenue is important to generate. As a school, we don't have unlimited budgets, so we really need help at Toyota Park. The $50 is actually a pretty small amount in terms of comparing it to what comes in for Toyota Park. Each parent on average brings out in about $100 when you work Toyota Park, and then probably averages maybe bringing in $50 when you work a home concession stand. So we would rather have your time than your money, but we at least wanted to give families options as well. You'll see here on this slide how much money has been given out to teams in the 5 years that I've been here. It has been significantly increasing, not only in the amount that's given out, but the amount of teams that have received it. And you can see at the bottom there how much money comes in at Toyota Park is pretty stark contrast. 2.5 times what comes in at the home concession stand. So 55 events at Shepard brought in about $13,000 last school year, whereas at Toyota Park, working half of those events brought in $35,000. So that's why we really are doing this and need this, and that's with the help of very few people. It has been the same people working over and over and over again. So we are looking for more people to help, and please understand all this money is going to the teams. It is a good thing. They are getting so many things that they need and that they want to help bring their performance to the next level. So please understand, all this money goes back to the teams. If you work a football game, that money doesn't just go to the football team. That money can go to the dance team, to the track team, to the basketball team, to whoever. We only run concession stands at a few different events, so all the money goes into one pot, and then the teams come to the booster club and say, hey, I need this, this, and this. And last year, every team that asked for something got 100% of what they asked for, no matter how much they asked for. If they asked for $250, they got $250. If they asked for $8,000, they got $8,000. So please understand, this is a great, great program, and we really need your support to help it continue to grow. This is just a kind of a funny thing that where the idea came from. Again, so many parents are tired of all the sales, bake sales, and cooking things and selling things, and you can kind of see this is from a PTA, and I really like the last one there. Here's $100. Please forget my name and don't ever ask me for anything again. So we got a good laugh out of that, but it was also a good eye-opener for us. We understand that people are tired of doing the same things over and over and over again, so that's why we wanted to create this new thing, and I believe it's a great model for schools to use when it comes to fundraising. In my community, I'm constantly having kids knock on the door, selling things to me from the local high school, and it's hard to say no. You feel bad, you like the kids, they're our neighbors, but it's a constant bombardment. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Our athletic trainer this year is Kaylee Craigo. She comes from NovaCare. NovaCare is new to us. We've had another company for a previous number of years. Kaylee's fantastic. What I need to talk about is concussions. Concussions, the understanding of the diagnosis and treatment of them is still under intense scrutiny, and they're trying to understand it better. Here's what I want to tell you, a couple things. One, a kid, if they have a concussion, if they believe the head injury is serious enough, we may mandate that you take your child to a doctor to get evaluated further. Once a head injury occurs, it could be up to 5 days. Sometimes that's the minimum, and sometimes it can go much longer than that. So this can be frustrating for kids and families. If they get a head injury on Tuesday and they really want to play in Thursday's game, they may not be able to. And please understand, while this may be a little bit of an overreaction and us being overprotective in the state, because much of this is coming from state law now and school code, we're doing this for the long-term health and the protection of your child. That game on Thursday is not nearly as important as their long-term cognitive and neurological health. Okay, it may be frustrating in the moment, but please understand, the first concussion may not be that big of a deal. It can be, but they are at a much higher risk of a second concussion if they come back to play sports too soon. And that's where the danger lies, is in the repetitive concussions, the second, third, fourth concussion in a short period of time. They may need to be out of school for a while. Another thing that's funny about concussions, you can be injured on a Tuesday and not get symptoms till Thursday. You might get symptoms right away. Symptoms may be incredibly intense, or they may be very small. Every kid is different, and we have to base our response on the child's self-report. Sometimes kids regret reporting that they got a head injury because they have to suddenly miss practice or miss games, or be out for 5 days and go to the doctor. But once a kid reports it, we can't take it back. They can't take it back. We want kids to report it because we want to protect them and we want them to be safe. Please understand, our trainer can override a medical doctor's decision to clear an athlete for athletics. It may sound silly, but our trainers typically are more attuned and more well-trained than primary care physicians in treating concussions. If they see the kid every single day and they go through a more intensive evaluation process, they can say, hey, no, look, I know your doctor said you're good to go, but I'm still seeing some concerns and I don't want you to go play sports. They typically will work them back in and increase the intensity level on day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they look for a variety of things in the evaluation of the concussions. If a doctor says a athlete cannot compete, if they've denied them the opportunity and say, no, you're not healthy enough, our trainer cannot override that decision. They can only override a medical doctor's decision if the doctor has said, yes, they are good to go, and our trainer believes they are not good to go. It doesn't work the other way. Academic eligibility, students have to maintain a certain level of passed classes per the IHSA rules. We check grades every Monday morning through Skyward. A report is generated about 5 a.m. We ask teachers to update their grades on Sunday nights. We will not make a change if they are ineligible on Monday and all of a sudden they're passing everything or have straight A's on Wednesday. They are still ineligible until the following Monday. This is an IHSA rule. You are ineligible for 7 days. I tell kids, they might be ineligible on Monday and good the rest of the week, but it doesn't matter. There are kids who are eligible on Monday who are not eligible on Thursday, but we don't play that. We only check their grades on Monday. We're not checking grades every single day. If they're ineligible come Monday or eligible come Monday, then they're eligible or ineligible for 7 consecutive days. Okay? No changes midweek. I strongly discourage seniors from taking a reduced schedule because if you only take 5 classes, then the second that you get 1 F, then you are ineligible. I also find that freshmen typically struggle with their grades when they first start off here, just because of the rigor of high school. And so I do see a lot of ineligible freshmen over the course of the year. I see a lot of honors and AP kids, but that's okay. They're taking challenging classes, and that's important for college preparation. I also see a lot of ineligibilities at the beginning of a season. So the first grade check in September and the first grade check in January, when there's very few grades to be had, we see a lot of ineligibilities. But kids have to get off to a good start. If they don't, then they're going to wind up being ineligible. Senior night, conference championship, playoff, state championship, it doesn't matter. If you are ineligible, you are ineligible. We don't overrule it. I very rarely accept appeals on things. It's a little bit cold-hearted, but it's the way that I have to do things to be fair to everybody else. If I make exceptions for one, then how about all the other kids I didn't make exceptions for in the past or in the future? So I am very rigid in that, and that's unfortunate because I don't like to live in black and white, but it has to be that way for eligibility. The double period classes do count as 2 grades, so if they're passing that class, that's great, but if they're failing that class, that counts as 2 failures, and typically it takes 3 failures to become ineligible. The rule is kids have to be passing 5 classes every single week. So if they're not, that means that they have 3 failures and they're only passing 4 classes. We have a 8-period day here, so kids take 7 classes for the most part. So in order to not be eligible, that means you would have at least 3 failures if you're taking a full course load. So a lot of times I'll get requests, well, hey, they're only that one class that they now have an F in is because they missed school for a funeral or for some other good reason, and they didn't have an F before that. Can you make an exception? The answer is no, because everybody wants to focus on that one class. What about those other 2 classes that you have Fs in? District 218 with an 8-period day, that's actually 1 more period than many other high school districts. So our students already have a built-in buffer for eligibility to help them, that 1 extra class to keep them eligible. Students in other districts, when they get 2 Fs, they become ineligible. So it's part of the reason why we are so strict about that. We do have a ton of tutoring opportunities available for students. ETP students that are athletes are expected to go to ETP once they become ineligible, and we track their attendance at ETP, and if they miss ETP 3 times, then they become ineligible for the remainder of the season until they're passing all of their classes. We used to kick kids off the team if they missed tutoring, but we stopped doing that. We don't believe it's good to kick kids off of teams. I try to use a little carrot and stick method that if they miss, they obviously are not caring about their classes and they're still struggling. If you want to be eligible again, then you'll get all of your grades passing, and I allow them to then play in games again if they get all of their classes up. If they continue to miss ETP, then we will remove them from their team. That's our tutoring program. There's a ton of other support services for our kids around the building before school, during school, and after school. AP classes, honors classes, it doesn't matter. Our teachers, bend over backwards to try and work with kids and help them get their grades up. Many teachers come in early before school to do tutoring lessons. Many come in on Saturdays. It's amazing what our teachers do here, and not just here, at many schools. We do have a code of conduct for athletics and activities. It is available online. I would strongly encourage you to go ahead and read that document. It is a long document, but it's important to become familiar with it if your child ever does get in trouble. We have very few code of conduct violations. It is progressive in nature. We understand kids are kids and they're going to make mistakes. We're not trying to chop their heads off right away, but when they wear that uniform, they are representing Shepard High School, and it should be a privilege and an honor. And so we're not going to let kids who are constantly disrespectful or insubordinate to teachers, or missing school a lot, or bringing substances, or under the influence in the community. This is a 24/7, 365-day policy. A kid who is on the cross-country team can't just say, okay, it's cross-country season, so I'm going to be good, and once the season's over, I'll be a jerk again, in the community. No. That punishment, if a kid gets in trouble, that's a fall athlete. If they get in trouble in February, they will be held accountable for their sport come August. It follows them. Again, there's a lot of details in the code of conduct. Obviously, the Category 3 issues are much more serious, and they carry a much more significant initial punishment. So, again, please become familiar with that. We try and give kids opportunities to do community service and be enrolled in classes for help, and we'll reduce suspensions if they do some of that restoration, restorative justice practices. If they do some of that, we will reduce their suspension in many, many cases. So I hope your child never gets in trouble with that, but we'll work together on that if it does happen. Physicals, and this is a message for anyone who is currently a freshman. Your child will need a physical for sports in their sophomore, junior, and senior year. We have offered free physicals here at the school in the past, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to continue to do that. I'd encourage you to come that day with the doctor's group that comes in and provides the free physicals. Once it gets close to the student's season, I would suggest that you only give the physical to the coach right at tryouts. I would strongly discourage you from giving it to the office or the nurse or anybody else, because these pieces of paper can get lost. I would also strongly encourage you to make sure you have a copy in case you do give it to somebody and it does not make it to where it's supposed to. I hate when kids are not allowed to try out because they're not on our physicals list, our updated list. And if you've turned it into the main office or the nurse or something like that, it is unfortunate, but I would strongly encourage you to only turn it in to your coach right at tryouts. So please be aware of that. So our school website for athletics is shepherdathletics.com. We have a school Facebook page and an athletic Twitter page. We are all over the media and the internet. So I strongly recommend that you go to those sites. We try to promote the heck out of our kids, our school, and our teams. And so there's lots of celebrations that are going on these pages, shout outs and stats and records broken and pictures and things like that. We try to have some fun with it. If you happen to be on Facebook, here's a couple of other sites that I'd recommend that are great sites and resources for parents of athletes. Proactive Coaching is one. Change the Game Project is another. And I Love to Watch You Play. I'd recommend that you like them or follow them. They provide a lot of great information on what it means to be a sports coach and parent. Schedule Star. You can get all the schedules for the various sports there. You can sign up for a text alerts if there's any changes in dates or times or locations, which does happen every once in a while. That can be helpful, particularly in the spring, but sometimes with the fall as well. Our Twitter handle is @ABS Athletics, and as I mentioned earlier, we have the Awards Night Banquet. That will be May 16th this year, and again, it is all years, all sports. We try to make it a fun night. We have guest speakers. We have a dinner. We have showed videos in the past of our athletes participating, and so all sorts of fun stuff happens at that night. We've had over 500 people the last couple of years. I would love more to attend. I don't know how many more our gym can hold, but I know we can get some more in there. So I hope more and more will come, considering we have over 800 athletes. These are just some funny cartoons that I found that harken back to my comments about referees earlier. Yelling and screaming at an official from the stands is not going to necessarily change things. I assure you our coaches will work the referees, the umpires, to try and get calls to go their way or question them when they make mistakes. It's not your job to do. And again, we just want to find that balance. It's part of the sporting experience, right? Umpires are trained to keep their eyes on the field and worry about that and not worry about what happens in the stands. But I've seen a number of parents get kicked out of contests for being inappropriate, using foul language with an official or referee. Please do not represent Shepard that way. Please make sure that whoever is not here listening to this, whoever comes with you to games, whether it be an uncle, another parent, a godparent, a grandparent, a brother, a sister, so on and so forth, please make sure you communicate with them the high expectations we have for respect for referees and opponents and for the best behavior at games. And again, here, as I said, referees are going to make mistakes. They're not going to stop suddenly in the middle of a game to get LASIK surgery to see things better. They'll make bad calls. They'll make mistakes. It happens. We accept it. The best referees in the world in the professional sports make mistakes as well. It's part of it. It's human error. Our referees are amateurs, and we don't want to chase more and more of them out of the game. So just so everybody's aware, there's also no smoking on campus. You need to get in your car and leave campus. If you're found smoking on campus, you're going to be asked to leave. If you are a repeat offender of smoking on campus, then you will be barred from coming to any games on campus in the future, and I don't want to do that. So this is a list of do's and don'ts. I suggest you take the time to read each one of these. One of the things I didn't talk about that's on the don't list: don't approach coaches after a game. Please take 24 hours before you talk to a coach, particularly after a loss or even after a win. Emotions are high. Coaches have supervision responsibilities of the athletes. They can't spend a lot of time talking to a parent right after a game. They have to get down to the locker room or whatever it may be. So please understand that. Another don't to be aware of is that actually our practices are closed to parents. Okay, it's not a good thing, which is different than what you're accustomed to with youth sports. Many parents go and the practices are open, but high school sports, they are closed practices, as are tryouts. It's in the past, if it was allowed at some point, I imagine this rule was put into place because of problems that emerged with parents being at tryouts or parents being at practices. So please do understand that. So again, here's a few more do's. There's many more do's than don'ts. So here these are things that are phrased and worded positively, and we want you to do all of these things. And of course, here's the don'ts. Again, you may disagree with coach's decision, or you may think that your child is not playing enough. Please don't undermine the authority of the coaches by saying, oh, that coach doesn't know what he or she's talking about. They're an idiot. You're way better. You should be playing more. Don't make excuses for your kids. Challenge them to find out what they need to do better to get that starting position that they want. All of these things that happen here can lead to game penalties or dismissal and or a no trespassing letter where you can't even come onto campus at all, not even for parent-teacher conferences. Sadly, this has happened in the past, not necessarily from athletics, but from some other things. So please do understand that and respect that. And I have to give this talk, and unfortunately, this applies to a very, very small percentage of our parents. In my 5 years here, I found that 99% of our parents are absolutely fantastic. These problems are few and far between. And again, I attribute that to our wonderful families and our wonderful coaches and our wonderful kids. There's always struggles, there's always challenges. And as I said before, if you are concerned about the treatment of your child, please do not hesitate to contact me about that. I'm not trying to, those things are again, very, very rare and just generally do not happen, but we will address your concerns. Any concern that you have, you are welcome to address it. That's that. You don't have to worry about this slide. And again, a huge thank you for all that you do, for being great parents. Thank you for your wonderful kids, and we look forward to working with you and them. Take care.